Goes down pretty deep. Oh crap. Things are falling into the water part. Well, I'm not exactly sure where the tank is. Last time and across the Mojave, I walked 50 kilometers from the Mexican border, crossed the Chocolate Mountains, and swam the Colorado River, only to reach a seemingly impenetrable swamp. Maybe this isn't possible. Well, I don't think it gets any better going back the way I came. So I'm just going to keep trying this. Okay. Well, the reeds are not dense enough. I can almost walk on them. But I think they're still just lying over water here. Just an impenetrable wall of reeds. That kind of goddamn tree. Fuck. I'm gonna say there's an eye into this stuff if I'm not careful. I'll put a hole in my dry bag. Okay. Climb off a few feet. And throw the bag. I can get it close to still. Okay. I can't even. This is the vertical fucking wall. I hope it's somehow I can get on the top of this stuff. Fuck. Very sinking. Fuck. See, look, it's a fucking wall. Oh, I'm gonna have to edit out some of the profanity. It's supposed to be a child-friendly show. Okay, I'm gonna hold on to the rope so this thing doesn't tumble back down into the water. This stuff must be a tremendous fire hazard. Okay. Well, I think that's what we're trying to get at. I suspect there's water underneath this stuff, but the reeds are so thick. Even if there is water down here, I'm not going to fall into them, so maybe it's time to get out of the wetsuit. Well, okay, I got my clothes on and my boots on. Got the straps back on my wet pack, on my dry sack. I'm gonna bring out the gloves. Let's get through this. I'm slightly further, I'm just going to fall right through it. But
So far it seems relatively sturdy. We don't really know what's under these reeds. If we've got to the part where there's dry ground beneath, or if there's still a swamp down there. I'll probably not find out by plunging 20 feet down into it. Like I almost did right there. I don't know how far down it is. I'd rather not find out. I really have no idea what the best course is either. I don't know if that's ground. Doesn't seem to be swampy. And the bushes aren't thorny. Yeah. Definitely camp down there. But I think there's no way across other than through the swamp. Wonder if I could crawl across on the reeds. Maybe if I stay out of the swamp. Reed surfing, eh? So the idea is to sit on the thickest branch of this, slide down. Ideally feast first. Gotta loosen my grip there. Okay, well, this will either be genius or terrible. Well, I got to dry back, so land up in the water. At least hopefully the bag won't get too wet. No, there's no way around. No. Stop. Okay. I'm gonna have to go through the swamp. But I don't want to get the boots wet. I guess I'm off a long way in these boots if they're wet and get blisters. But I'm like actively sliding down into the swamp right now. So I gotta act quick. So close and yet so far. The advantage of the wetsuit was that, one, protects a little bit against the coldness of this water. Two, there's some mechanical protection against the reeds. So doing this without pants on is going to be I don't know if it's a wise idea. It was more than like 6 feet across, and I can see the other bank. Time for my geowizard-esque plunge across the swamp. Like I said, it's only 6 feet. Hopefully I can make it. Definitely too deep for my boots, but it's actually not that bad. Not nearly as deep as I was fearing. Like, oh crap! The falling into the water part. Okay, never mind. Spoke too soon. Well, the shirt will dry out soon enough. Okay, I guess I just need to crawl out. Yeah, I probably should have just left the wetsuit on. Well, these are all lessons for my second swim. I hate swamps. The water again. Only one scrape. Other than that, I seem to be more or less intact. Toes are a little numb from the cold water. Well, close back up. I really hope there's no more swamp from here in that rock, but it's getting really close now. Another swamp, I might just cry. There, rock, I can see it. Woo! Hallelujah! Woo! Oh, God, thank you. Oh, finally out of that awful, 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 awful thicket. Oh. Okay. And now this stuff. Okay, well, I'm recovered a little bit from my ordeal with the brush, with the reeds down there. The swim actually was quite easy. I was pleased how easily that went. But I spent, I don't know, the better part of 2 hours just trying to get out of that brush. I don't know, there was probably only a couple hundred meters horizontally, less than I swam for sure. But now I just need to parallel the river for a while. Fortunately, there seem to be some burro trails here. I can't go too high above the river or I get out of the wilderness area, and I can't go too low or I get into a wilderness area. There's sort of a thin strip here of the Imperial Refuge Wilderness between the river, which is not in the wilderness, and then the Yuma Proving Ground if I go too far uphill, which is not in the wilderness. But because I had sort of a slow time in the reeds, I still have to walk like 13 miles on this side of the river through difficult terrain like this until I have to swim back. Hopefully that won't be quite as reedy. Hopefully I make it faster than yesterday's 13 miles, which took me all day. The only one thing I have going good for me is that my pack is pretty light, since I've eaten most of my food now and drank most of my water. Originally I was planning on refilling a little bit of water back there along the river, but well, on my way out of the river wasn't really the easiest place to get water. And I thought about it again when I crossed the mucky swamp, but that doesn't seem like very appealing water. I still have a little over 3 liters, which should be enough on a cool day for most of a day's hike. Anyway, just continuing along on these amazingly good burro trails. Hopefully these things save me some time. This is the Eureka Mine, also known as the River View Mine. And it was active from 1879 to 1897. And at that time, there were steamboats going up and down the Colorado River, used to haul ore from these mines, mostly. Later they were used for, you know, tourism and things like that. Okay, I actually need to go the other way up and down this canyon, but I was trying to find a better way. I'll just follow this old mining road to where it hits the bottom and then walk down the bottom. A little bit of a detour, but sometimes a little detour is better than cliffs. That's what they were mining, was gold and silver. Again, the gold and silver came along with fluids that came up through the crust about 28 to 24 million years ago, when there was a big period of extension. The crust was being pulled apart. There's a yeah, that goes down pretty deep. Yeah, okay. Donkey trail it is. So I've just been a trough for watering for mules. Oh, here's the foundations of some sort of structure. Again, I'm not sure what, if there was a little mill here or just housing for the miners. I really don't know. Here's another old foundations of a house or something. Definitely would have been, well, the mountain would have been about the same back then, but the human elements would have been a lot different back then. You won't see any steamboats in the Colorado River these days. Okay, I remember this. The wilderness boundary is basically parallel to the edge of that shack and like 25 feet or something like that uphill of it. I think I can't walk straight past the old ore bin or whatever that is. I think that technically puts me out of the wilderness area. I think if I stay up here on this upper burrow path, then I should be just inside of the wilderness area. They probably designated it to keep all this human debris outside of the wilderness area. I don't know. We're close. It looks like an old ore chute or bin, something like that. Oh, this canyon looks like it's gonna be fun to cross. Also, I noticed there's a California fan palm down there. That's because it's so choked up with stuff. I think I'm going to try and follow this burrow trail. Even though it's sort of on this cliff here, I'm a little wary about going down into the canyon. This might be more of a mountain goat trail, actually, than a burrow trail, but yeah, see, those are, well, actually those might be rabbit trails, I'm not sure. Okay, this part's a little sketchy because it's got all this loose rock here. Solid rock, I don't mind a narrow ledge. This kind of stuff, sorry, my camera work's not very good. And I'm also trying to survive. But I wouldn't count on getting found footage if I don't make it, so. Looks like it goes down through there. Okay, you know what? I brought some pruning shears for this purpose. You know, if I were wearing my other pack, I might just try and duck through these, but between the pack and not liking getting thorns in the face, it's easier if you can just cut off some of the worst thorns. That way you're not getting quite all of them in your face at once. Also, usually once you get past the first part, it's not quite as bad. Some of these might just break off. The burros will thank me. Well, I made it up out of the thorn apocalypse. I hear a donkey. Oh, there it is, right behind that bush. Hey, Burro. Oh, 3 of them. 4 of them. That should even show on this resolution. Sorry, Burros. I'm taking this road today. But yeah, this is still a wilderness area. I know there's a road here, but this one does not even have any fresh wheel tracks on it. Hey, donkey. Donkey, 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 donkey. There's some sort of abandoned thing over there. Hey, bros, I'm really not trying to chase you. I'm just trying to walk down this road. Oh, this green stuff looks like malachite or maybe chalcedony, which is a copper mineral. It's really a secondary copper mineral. You don't really mine it for copper itself, but it often indicates the presence of other copper minerals below ground. But there's no big hole there, so presumably they didn't actually find anything. Well, I completely lost that little mining road, or whatever it was. But apparently we're still in an area with chalcedony, not chalcedony, chrysocolla. There's a little prospect pit. Some nice green chrysocolla shining out. Hopefully this burrow is not an indication of all who travel this route. There's his skull. Top of his skull, I should say. Where's the skull is? Well, I've been wandering around for a while. I never did find the mining road. At some point I decided that I really wasn't sure where I was. I checked the GPS. The GPS said I was supposed to be on where I was supposed to be, but I don't see any road. Well, the good news is I think I know where I am again. The bad news is I think I just made a big detour. I remember I mentioned I never found that road, and then I was not quite sure where I was, and then I was confused because the GPS location from the Earthmate app associated with the satellite tracker seemed to say I was in the right place, but it didn't look like topography around me, so I just checked with I have a redundant GPS because I have the GPS that's built into my iPhone. So I checked my position with that, and then I ran up the hill to look, and I'm at the right spot for the iPhone position, but I'm in the wrong place for the Earthmate position. So I don't know why they're different by like 2 kilometers, but it explains why I was confused. I mean, I know they're different datums and things like that, and they laid it the right datum. Sorry, a little bit of a thorn plant here that I'm going through. But even like NAD 27 is only off by a couple hundred yards, not by like 2 kilometers. So I have no idea what's going on. I think I'm still just into the wilderness. I think the river, the Colorado River, is right down there. I'm supposed to be like 2 kilometers north of here. So yeah, that might just hurt my hopes of being able to swim back across the river tonight. Also, we'll see how my water situation does. I guess in principle I could try and fight my way down to the river for a drink, but I still have about 2 liters left. The river's not far away. If I need to look for the river, I can look for the river. Anyway, I better focus on navigation so I don't get lost now that I know where I am. Well, there's something I've never actually found before. A bighorn sheephorn. Just leave it there. And also a waterfall. I'll just check this pool to make sure there's no water in it. No. I think I saw a way around on the side. Yeah, I was doing a lot of filming on this walk back. I had trouble concentrating on the map and filming at the same time. You know, the best way to not get lost is to always know where you are and know where the landmarks are heading towards are before you get there. When you're walking in canyons, the problem is you can't always see very many landmarks until you're down to the canyon. So you have to take what glimpses you have. finally back on our route. After a long delay there. I think the odds of me crossing the river a second time today are rapidly dropping. Now I'm rooting for getting back to a stretch of the river that has easily accessible water. So I don't have to climb through the reed forest just to get a drink. Here's a landmark I'm pretty sure I'm not going to miss. These two big towers of rock. I believe my path goes between them. Abandon hope, all ye who enter here. Not a landscape for the faint-hearted. Hey, just to be clear, although I have GPS with me, I didn't download any of the maps onto it because, you know, GPS can run out of battery, so I'm relying entirely on the paper maps, which today maybe hasn't worked out so well, but you know, if you practice using paper maps all the time, you hone your skills and they never run out of batteries. I don't think it can get wet, but that's why I have them in a plastic bag. Well, on the plus side, it's gotten to be that kind of time of day when the shadows are long and beautiful. On the negative side, I still have a couple miles to go. And one of the things I need to do in that time is find water, because I got about a third of a liter in this, and I think I have about as much more in one of my water bags. So, I mean, I won't expire by morning time. I'm sure I could make it to the river for my morning swim without any additional water, but it wouldn't be pleasant. We just hit that point where all of a sudden it feels like everything got darker. The good news is I'm now less than a mile from at least a place where I can get water. And then after that, I'll contemplate making an additional trip to the edge of the Trigo wilderness where I can legally camp. We'll see whether that's a safe option at that time. My hope is that someone has illegally cleared a path down to the water so that I don't have to hack my way through reeds. Go down till the thorn bushes stop me. It's rapidly getting too dark to tell where the hell I'm going.
Although I kept stumbling about for another hour after dark, I never did find a way to the river's edge. Not only was I very short on water, but I was also out of food, as I had been planning on getting resupplied by my parents on the California side of the river that afternoon. So I went to bed without dinner. As to whether I ever made it in the Trigo wilderness, I'll take the fifth on that. Either way, I woke up at 4 a.m. the next morning, and again without eating, set out for my swim point, fearing another ordeal in the reeds.
Okay, well, the dawn is finally starting to appear, and I think I'm getting pretty close to the river. I seem to have just entered a burn zone. You guys probably can't see in the video because it's too dark. Well, I've made it to the river. Still need to get my bag squared away and my wetsuit on, and hopefully by that time it'll be light enough to safely swim. Okay, let's get swimming. Fuck. Okay, swim 2. We don't have to start swimming. I'm gonna run out of sand veins pretty soon. There it is. This is why I started that well upstream. It's a little swim in the park. Before the farm, there's a little eddy current here. So the current is actually coming the other way right here. So I'm actually swimming against the current now.
Still got to beat through the reeds a little bit, but the ground is easy.
Okay. Well, this is a lot easier than the other place I got out. That's for sure. Hard work towards the end because there kept being these eddy currents going the wrong way near the shore. Ow.
How heavy is it? Can I lift it?
Should be able to. It should be relatively light because I drank all my food and water.
You can have a Snickers bar right now.
I might not say no to that actually. I'm here with my parents who are delivering me supplies from time to time. Normally they'll be getting me supplies on the road, but right now, I think partly because I was swimming the river and because of other things, they brought me the supplies now. So I've now changed packs, so I no longer have to have the awkward dry pack, and I have a real backpacking backpack. And so yeah, heading on my way.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Nick.
Good safe travels.
Okay, see you at Corn Springs.
Bye-bye. My route has me going down off this plateau, across this wash, and then left up the canyon. Nice view of the Colorado River. I was swam across, I probably went in just near it where it cuts off there. Maybe just to the right of where you can't see it anymore actually. Although it swept me downstream a ways. Now I just have to figure out how to get down this slope.
Leaving the river, I now had less than 2 days to cross 33 miles or 53 kilometers of rugged terrain before the next place I could hopefully find water, at a natural basin called Tadpole Tank.
Okay, we finally got to the entrance of the canyon that I'm going to be going up for a significant chunk of the day. Looks like it's got some colorful rock formations, probably still more of the Clifton volcanics. Again, about 25 million years old. Took a little break there in the shade of this monolith to get my solar panels set up on the side, because I'm going to be walking west today mostly, so that'll be on the side with the sun. Random logistics you have to deal with out here. We have been in the Imperial Wildlife Refuge wilderness for a while, and now we're entering the Indian Pass wilderness. We've actually been skirting the border for a little while, but now we're, I'm pretty sure, firmly within the Indian Pass wilderness. So just gotta keep going up this canyon. Incidentally, I would have camped pretty close to here in my original plan, and now it's, I don't know, probably already after 10 a.m. There they are. Hey, Burros. Well, this looks likely to be fun. Looks like there's a big landslide of massive boulders. More tough here, have the Quitson volcanics. And you can tell by the pink color and lots of volcanic fragments of approximately the same stuff. But probably the landslide came down from those pink cliffs up there. The rocks down here in the bottom actually look like maybe a basalt or andesite or something. Oh yeah, it looks like we can just go right under the bottom. And then climb up, or actually around the right side might be easier. Because down there, I had to climb up the waterfall at the end. Looks like there might be some tanks here that get water some time of the year. I don't think I can see any down there though. See, all these places that you never come to if you don't walk out in the middle of the wilderness. It's quite scenic here. I call it hike across the Mojave, but it's really hike across the California desert. Right now we're biologically in the Sonora Desert, which is lower elevation and gets more of it gets heavier rains in the summer, which allows more plants to survive. Although it's hotter on average, so it's still relatively bleak, except for in watercourses like this, where in the winter there's enough water soaks in to water the trees for another year. But geologically, this part of the Sonora Desert is basically the same as the main part of the Mojave Desert. So, as a geologist, that's why I just lumped it in as across the Mojave. It's not obvious from the picture, but this part all is going upstream. I don't know what the gradient is, but it's at least a few percent, which doesn't seem that bad, but when it's in gravel, that always makes it more tiring. And of course the whole 65-pound pack thing. I'm not sure this is exactly the route I was planning to take, but I figure if there's a donkey trail, it can't be too bad. Well, it's lower elevation, whole Badlands. I think I'm supposed to be going more west. I'm drifting a little north and west, but long term, I think those hills there are the Gavilan Hills. My original campsite planned, or maybe not Gavilan Hills, Gold, I don't know. There's those over there, the hills on the horizon there, which I guess I don't have in 4K, so it might be a little hard to see. But those hills was where I was originally planning to camp tonight, before I obviously had to swim the river. I think there's no way I'm making it all the way over there today, because that's still a really long way away. And there's some nasty terrain in between. Okay, so I came around the left edge of those hills, and I'm coming up this canyon. I'm on onto the ridge, just as the sun is starting to set. Okay, I've now arrived at the high point of today's journey. And actually the high point for the next 2 days too, I think. It's still a relatively modest elevation, something like 1,100 feet, or 330 meters, something like that. I meant to check the exact elevation on the map before I did this, but I forgot. It's starting to get dark, so I think I'll just go down this ridge a little ways. Still kind of a less exposed place to camp. One minor snafu is I realized that I left my iPhone charger plugged into my dad's power brick. So I'm currently without an iPhone charger, and my iPhone is running low on batteries. Not that the iPhone is critical, because I do have a Garmin InReach as backup communication, but it's nice to be able to take photo and to send to my wife, and call my wife and things like that. So we'll pick that up hopefully late morning tomorrow. Well, good morning, YouTube audience. I'm just starting off here from where I just camped out in that flat there behind me. A little bit of a late start compared to my other days, because it's almost dawn, but I have a long way to go today, and I really want to get to the tank where I hope to find water tonight, with enough time to spare in case I need to find an actual place to get the water out, and in case there's bushes, I mean, and actually be able to see where their water is, which is not always trivial with these desert watering holes. So I want to get there while it's still light, and yeah, long way to go. So I'm eating breakfast on the road. This breakfast sandwich looks a little strange. It's made with campfire bread baked in the campfire last night, and Nutella. So should be good. A lot of calories in there, and actually pretty tasty. One problem with desert navigation is that sometimes you're walking along eating your sandwich, and then bam, you get one of these things. Blech. Good thing is my pack is lighter now. Having eaten and drank some food and water.
Okay. This is the sort of canyon that, of course, just never shows up on the topo map. This is one of the really old ones with hand-drawn contours. But it's less than 40 feet deep, so even with hand-drawn contours, if it's a 40-foot contour, this kind of canyon is probably not going to show up. But it only takes a lot of energy to climb in and out of. Okay. Well, just more of the same. And along the base of these foothills. Well, the sun is up and starting to cast pink radiance on distant mountains, even if it's not exactly where I am yet. Starting to warm up for all this hiking. I've switched to wizard conformation now to let the old radiator fins stick out so I don't start sweating in the sweater. Okay, kind of going to this foothill here. Looks like we're going to enter the sunshine the first time today. Still golden colored. And then we'll see from here if we've gone far enough along the foothills and it's time to leave into the plains. I don't know quite what I'm going to see yet. We might be getting close. We at least need to get one more ridge over. At some point I need to actually head towards those mountains. But there's a fine line because I don't want to cross a bunch of these washes. So I think I need to go to this next ridge and then I'll cut across. So yes, the time has definitely come to now. I've been coming, well, from with the sun behind me along the front of these mountains and sort of skirting the top of this uneven surface of the dissected alluvial fan. So again, when you have these sort of low hills made of gravel like this that all have the top at the same heights, that usually means it was one big plain of outwash from streams coming out of the mountains. I don't really like using the word streams because that makes you think water. These things only have water every like couple decades when there's a big flash flood, but at any rate, there's one of these big alluvial fans that got then eaten into by later streams when the land uplifted a little bit, or maybe the baseline of the Colorado River dropped a little bit. One of those. But yeah, just across here, that pointy one is Buzzard's Peak. And in fact, when we cross this valley, we're going to switch from the Indian Pass Wilderness into the Buzzard's Peak Wilderness. There's a little dirt road down the middle that's not in the wilderness. I should probably cross it approximately perpendicularly to minimize my time outside the wilderness. Okay, and now we are in the Buzzard's Peak Wilderness. So we're going to just head up this ridge here and then take a right turn to start paralleling that next mountain range. There's a whole array of these little rock shelters or something on this hill. You know, there's no recent disturbance in the soil, so they clearly are at least a little bit old. There's no jeep tracks. I don't know. That's a puzzle for an archaeologist, not for me. I'll just not disturb them. Take only video. Try not to leave footprints. Big circle of rocks. Again, all varnished on all the surfaces we can see, although maybe they're just basalt, so they're just dark without the desert varnish. And then a big white rock in the middle. Nice Ocotillo in bloom here. Put my shadow right on. This now drains the other side of the mountain. So this is officially crossing the crest of this little mountain range here. I'm not sure if it has a name. And then this will drop us down into a little valley called Gold Basin, where I guess probably some people found gold at some point, but you never know. Maybe they're just gold colored rocks. I guess we'll see.
So far we've been heading north still through this gold basin, and now this bigger wash is going to now start taking us down to the west, out of the mountains, and then it'll just be a matter of following the foothills up and trying to stay inside the wilderness area, paralleling Highway 78. This is the sort of terrain that looks easy enough. It's just a big flat plain until you realize that there's these canyons. There are these canyons with trees just sticking out of the top of them. I don't know how. I don't know, the last one I just climbed through, I didn't put on video, but it was very difficult. This one actually looks not so bad. I think I may just go down and up this one easily enough. It's still one of those things that makes the difference between something being easy and a huge pain. And it isn't necessarily obvious from looking at a topographic map. I'm tired of these hills. They really take the life out of you all up and down. Okay, so here's where I start getting awful close and personal with the highway. This disturbed zone here, I think, is the natural gas pipeline. And I think the wilderness boundary is drawn basically right at its edge. So it means I have to stay on this side of the line, not just north along this uphill and downhill for, I don't know, a couple miles. Longer than I care to think about it, because I need to get in those next mountains way down there, I think, by the time I go to bed. I don't have time for this. I need to get to the park and get water tonight. I'm just going to walk on the highway for the next 3 miles. You know, that's 3 miles more out of 500 that I'm not in the wilderness. I guess that's just less than 1%. I think you can live with that if I get to water before dark. I think if I do it on the highway, I could probably do 3 miles in a little over an hour. If I didn't have the bag, I could do it in an hour. With the backpack, yeah, it'll probably take me a little more than an hour. But 3 miles across this stuff, up and over, that'd take me 3 hours probably. You know, climbing these things repeatedly every 100 feet. Yeah, it's just not happening the time I hit. Okay, so after a long, uneventful, but relatively easy walk along the highway, I'm finally approaching the sign. So I think my parents taped the iPhone charger cable onto, so let's see if it's actually still there. Oh, I see pieces of duct tape down there. That's gotta be it. Excellent. Now it's time to ditch this popsicle joint, get off the road and back into the wilderness, which I think starts just on the other side of the power lines here. Once I'm across this road, then I'm into the Milpitas Wash wilderness, my third wilderness of the day, not my last. Now I'm back in wilderness again. So, but I'm not quite out of the woods yet. I still need to get to the Palo Verde Mountains, which are those mountains that way. Okay, well, I had a good lunch there. Unfortunately, have a little run-in with the runs. Unfortunately, one of the few places I'm actually next to a highway, which is sort of obnoxious. Anyway, I'm continuing on this way. So the good news is I've already come a fair distance today. The bad news is, in fact, I think I passed the 100-kilometer mark a little while ago, so we've already come 100 kilometers from the Mexican border. I think it's like 101 now. The bad news is I still have to like 13.5 miles left to go. 7.5 miles of walking in a straight line, then 6 more, and still in washes, but going over the mountain. So we'll see if I can do that in the probably 5 hours or so until dark. I have to say, there really are a lot of awful big mesquite and Palo Verde trees here. This one's a Palo Verde, you can tell by the green branches. You know, it almost does feel like you're in a forest, especially with these wild gourd vines climbing up them. There were a couple of deer or antelope or something that just bounded across the field of view. Oh, there are a couple more. Is it just me, or do those clouds look like a big monster face? Okay, so I've been coming across this way, across the Milpitas Wash Wilderness, for what seems like ages coming up this wash. Well, first across the plain and then across this wash. I started somewhere, I think at the foot of the mountain, way back over there, if you can believe it. Not quite there yet. So now up here ahead of me is Milpitas Wash Road, which has a little corridor that's not in the wilderness. So I'm just gonna quickly cross that to the other side, and then I'm gonna continue up this wash into the canyon there. Those two flat top mountains are called flat tops. I'm gonna pass somewhere up to the left of them, over the crest of the range, and then a little bit down the other side to where there's Tadpole Tank. This will be my 4th wilderness area of the day. Just a quick view of the setting sun. Okay, that's not so good. This last part is enough. Okay. Back into the canyon that I belong in. Got some right there. I got a little detour. Canyon fork. Took the wrong way. Nice pink clouds back that way. Okay. I cheated a little bit because it's getting dark. Earlier at Cell Signal, I pre-downloaded the Google Maps images. Satellite imagery for this area, so I can now use it without internet. Oh, it's been a long day of walking, but at least it's a nice sunset. I think we're down to probably 4.5 miles now, so that's not too bad. I'll probably have some light for the first 1.5 miles of that. So can I do 3 miles in the darkness? I'm blaming my continuing schedule delays to have started with getting stuck in those reeds for 2 hours. I'm heading to Tadpole Tank. Tadpole Tank is actually outside the wilderness area. We've already crossed the road, I forgot the name of the road, that basically forms the boundary of the wilderness area. So I'm going down this side canyon, which will reach the main canyon where Tadpole Tank is. Although I'm not exactly sure where the tank is. Now the tank should be up this way in this narrow canyon up here, I think. It's actually sort of eerie. This at night. I might look around a little bit more in the morning, but so far I'm not enthused by the quantity of water here. It's not wet down there at all. The question is what to do about it.